Okay, welcome back. Today we're doing a bit of a deep dive into Bill Detmer's logical thinking process.
Yeah, specifically looking at that roadmap wheel idea he explains, we're using a YouTube clip where Detmer himself breaks it down.
Right. And our goal here is, to quickly get a handle on this structured way of looking at systems, improving them. What does the source really tell us about how it all clicks together?
Well, the core idea from the source is that it's these five logic trees, all integrated.
Okay.
And they're designed to tackle problems by answering four really fundamental questions about a system.
And these tools, Goaltree, CRT, FRT, Cloud, PRT folks might know them individually, but the power is in the process, right? Those four questions.
Exactly. The source lays them out pretty clearly. First, what are we actually expecting the system to do? What's the performance standard?
Okay, the baseline.
Then second, if it's not meeting that standard, what specifically needs to change? Not just symptoms, but the real levers.
What to change? Got it.
Third is, what are we changing to? Like, how should the system look and operate differently?
The target state.
And finally, number four, how do we actually make that change happen? The execution piece.
Right, from goal to action. So according to this roadmap wheel concept in the source, where's ground zero? Where do you start?
It all kicks off right in the middle of the wheel diagram with the goal tree.
Okay.
The source really emphasizes this isn't just like a wish list. It's about nailing down what the system has to deliver for the overall goal. Getting that super clear is step one.
And that clear picture, that expected performance from the goal tree,
Yeah.
that feeds into the next step.
Precisely. That expected performance becomes the benchmark. You compare it to reality, and that gap analysis is what drives the current reality tree, the CRT.
Oh, okay.
So the source shows how you use the goal tree output to build the CRT. Its job is to dig down and find those root causes, the core problems stopping the system from hitting its goal. It answers that what to change question.
Right, by showing why it's not meeting the standard set by the goal tree. Makes sense. Now, the source apparently flags something that happens when you actually suggest changes.
Oh yeah, resistance. The video points out that any significant change tends to stir up conflicts or concerns. Someone sees a downside.
And that's not just, like, a roadblock.
No, Detmer's approach, as shown in the source, treats that resistance as valuable data. It points to underlying conflicts you need to resolve.
And the tool for that is the evaporating cloud.
That's exactly it. The source positions the cloud as the conflict resolution tool here. You use it to surface and challenge the assumptions driving the conflict.
Okay.
And resolving that conflict generates injections. These are basically actions or policies the system isn't doing now, things needed to satisfy the competing needs.
So the cloud helps figure out changes that sort of diffuse the conflict before it starts and finds these injections. What then?
Well, those injections, maybe plus some other new ideas or policies, they become the input for the next tree, the future reality tree, or FRT.
FRT. Okay, what's its role?
The source calls it a tabletop simulation. It's crucial. Before you mess with the real system, you build this FRT.
To test things out.
Exactly. To check if implementing these injections will actually fix the problems from the CRT and get you to the goal tree performance, ideally without causing, major new problems.
So let me get this straight. The cloud resolves conflict to find potential solutions, the injections.
Yep.
And the FRT tests if those solutions will actually work in theory.
You got it. They work together, the cloud and the FRT, to answer that third question, what to change to. They map out the desired future state.
Okay, makes sense. So once you verify that future state with the FRT.
Then you shift gears to execution. That's where the prerequisite tree, the PRT, comes in.
The final tree.
Right. The source explains this tree is all about planning the how. It identifies the sequence of steps, the intermediate objectives needed to implement the changes validated by the FRT. It answers, how do we cause the change?
Goal, problem ID, conflict resolution and solution test, implementation plan. Seems logical. But why a wheel? The source mentions it's cyclical.
Ah, good point. That's key, according to Detmer in the video. You don't just implement the PRT plan and, walk away.
Right.
You have to observe the real system, see what effect the changes had, and you measure performance again, comparing it back to that original goal tree standard.
If there's still a gap, if it's not quite hitting the mark.
You go around again, maybe you need to update the CRT because new issues popped up, or maybe the initial diagnosis was slightly off. You refine, replan, re-implement.
So it's continuous improvement.
Exactly. The wheel shows it's iterative until that expected performance is consistently achieved.
Okay, so thinking about this whole structured cycle Detmer lays out, start with the goal, diagnose the reality, Test solutions that handle conflict, plan the execution, then measure and repeat. What can that mean for you? Listening. Maybe consider a complex challenge you're facing, work, project, even something personal. Could applying this kind of methodical process, goal, reality, tested solution, action, iteration bring more clarity than just trying to untangle everything at once? Something to think about.